Just dropped iOS 26.5.1, and if you have an iPhone Air or iPhone 17, you need to install this right now. But before we get to that, iOS 26.5, the update that came out just 3 weeks ago, was actually packed with new features and one of the biggest security patches Apple has ever shipped. Today we're covering everything: what changed, what got fixed, what got secured, and whether you should update today. Let's go! Quick before we dive in, iOS 26.5 dropped May 11th for iPhone 11 and later. It patched over 50 security vulnerabilities. Yes, 50. And iOS 26.5.1 followed on June 1st with one very specific but important fix. Here's everything broken down.
Let's start with the biggest new feature in iOS 26.5, and honestly, it's been a long time coming. Apple has added end-to-end encryption for RCS messages between iPhone and Android. This means when you're texting someone on Android using RCS, those in bubble chats, your messages are now encrypted end-to-end, just like iMessages between iPhones. Now, Apple is calling this beta for now. It requires your carrier to support it, and it will roll out gradually. So not everyone will see it immediately. But this is a massive step forward for cross-platform privacy. Previously, RCS messages between iPhone and Android had no end-to-end encryption at all. Anyone between you and the recipient, including your carrier, could technically read them. Now that changes. Check if it's active, go to Settings, scroll down to Apps, tap Messages, and look for the RCS section. If your carrier supports it, you'll see the encryption status there. This is probably the most user-impacting feature in iOS 26.5, and if you text Android users regularly, this alone is a reason to update. Feature number 2, Apple Maps gets smarter with suggested places. Based on your habits and context, Maps will now proactively suggest places you might want to go, restaurants, gas stations, your usual spots, without you having to search. Similar to what Google Maps has been doing for years, but Apple's version leans on on-device intelligence, which means your location data stays on your iPhone and isn't sent to Apple servers. Typical Apple privacy-first approach. See these suggestions right on the Maps home screen and in Search. If you don't want them, you can turn them off under Settings, Privacy, Location Services, Maps. Third addition in iOS 26.5 is a new Pride Luminance wallpaper, a downloadable wallpaper available in the Wallpaper section of Settings. It's a dynamic, colorful design in Apple's signature style. Quick and easy to grab if you want it. Now let's talk about the part of this update that most people skip past, but really shouldn't: the security fixes. iOS 26.5 patched over 50 vulnerabilities across the system. That is not a small number. Let me walk you through the most important one. WebKit, the engine that powers Safari and every browser on iPhone, had 10 vulnerabilities fixed in this update. Some of these could allow a malicious website to access sensitive data on your device, or crash your browser entirely. This is critical because WebKit affects every browser on iPhone, not just Safari. Chrome, Firefox, Opera, they all use WebKit under the hood on iOS. So if you browse the web at all, this fix protects you. Attack scenario: you visit a compromised or malicious website, and without these patches, that site could potentially read data from your device. With iOS 26.5 installed, those holes are closed. Kernel vulnerabilities. The kernel is the deepest part of iOS. It controls everything: how apps communicate, how memory is managed, how hardware is accessed. Apple fixed multiple kernel issues in iOS 26.5, including memory disclosure bugs where an app could potentially read memory it shouldn't have access to, buffer overflow vulnerabilities that could cause unexpected system crashes, case conditions, timing-based bugs where two processes compete and one can exploit the gap. These are the kind of vulnerabilities that sophisticated attackers target. Patching them is essential, even if you never notice the difference day to day. Here's one that's easy to understand and actually affects your daily privacy. Apple fixed a networking vulnerability where an attacker on the same network could track your device through its IP address. Public Wi-Fi, coffee shops, airports, hotels. If you connected to a network where a bad actor was present, they could potentially identify and track your device using this flaw. The iOS 26.5 patch closes that door. Apple also patched a sneaky one in the Shortcuts app. An automation shortcut could potentially access sensitive user data, things like your contacts, files, or personal information, without asking for permission first. Apple's fix adds an additional user consent prompt. Now if a shortcut tries to access sensitive data, you'll see a pop-up asking for your approval. Small UI change, big privacy improvement. There are also fixes for vulnerabilities in how iOS processes image and media files. A maliciously crafted image, something you might receive in a message or download from a website, could previously cause your apps to crash or terminate unexpectedly. In some cases, these can be used as entry points for more serious attacks. iOS 26.5 patches those too. Apple addressed one specific bug. On iPhone Air and all iPhone 17 models, a small number of users were experiencing a situation where wired charging would simply not start when the battery was nearly completely drained. We're talking 1% or dead. Normally, when a phone is that low, you plug it in and it starts charging immediately. Some iPhone Air and 17 users were finding that the charging animation wouldn't appear and the phone would stay dead even with a cable connected. iOS 26.5.1 fixes exactly that. If you have an iPhone Air or any iPhone 17 model, install this update. It's small, it's fast, and it solves a genuinely frustrating problem. Important note, this update is only available for iPhone Air and iPhone 17 models. If you have an older iPhone, you won't see iOS 26.5.1 in your software update. iOS 26.5 is still the latest for you, and it's still very much worth installing for all. Update right now, open Settings, tap General, then Software Update. You'll see either iOS 26.5 or iOS 26.5.1 depending on your device. Tap Download and Install. Make sure you're on Wi-Fi and have at least 50% battery, or have your phone plugged in. Update takes about 10 to 15 minutes typically. Your phone will restart once. So, should you update? Absolutely yes, and here's why in 3 bullet points. 1. Over 50 security patches including kernel, WebKit, and networking fixes. These protect you every single day. 2. If you text Android users, RCS end-to-end encryption is a real privacy upgrade. 3. If you have an iPhone Air or iPhone 17, the 26.5.1 charging fix is a must-have. There is genuinely no reason to wait on this one. It's everything in iOS 26.5 and 26.5.1. If this video helped you out, hit that like button. It genuinely helps the channel. Subscribe so you don't miss our iOS 27 coverage coming next week. Drop a comment below. See you in the next one.